Hi, trendsetters. Good to be back. Thank you so much for the support and congratulations. I've had a buzz of a week thanks to you guys. Look, really, thank you, thank you. Awesome. And so now I want to do a reading on Mike Pence and then Corey Lewandowski. Okay, Pence. I've done a reading on him before, The Ghost in the West Wing. Haven't looked at it for a long while, so it'd be interesting what it said. What else do we know about Pence? He is the dreariest guy in the history of the world. I mean, he should be the face of the opioid crisis, really. You know, who needs fentanyl or barbiturates when you could spend 2 hours with Mike Pence? So, what is in the cards for Mike Pence? Let's just get going, shall we? Okay, so let me lay out the cards here for you. Okay. Okay. All right, Mike Pence. This is the man who's not allowed to meet with women when his wife isn't there or have dinner with them or something. We know he's seriously old school, hyper-Christian, all of that. But what is surprising to me in his centre card here is the King of Pentacles. This is someone who's really greedy and acquires money for money's sake. I'm not entirely convinced it's him. It could be another side of his nature we don't know. I'm sure he's wealthy in his own right, but maybe this is Trump turning up in the centre of Pence's card. Because, let's face it, Trump is the centre of Pence's world. He's waiting for the Donald to fall off the perch, be assassinated, have a heart attack, or otherwise resign. So everything in Pence's world hinges on Trump. So, for now, I'm going to call the King of Pentacles as Trump. He's got tension going on around issues of justice. And I say that for a couple of reasons. The King of Swords, Mueller, has turned up. So it could be that Pence is hoping that the Mueller investigation will mean the end of Trump. Therefore, he can step into the big chair. But a more interesting question is, possibly, will he also be caught up with the Mueller stuff? Underneath that, strength, the strength card, it's also a female figure. This could either be the wife or it could be his faith. You know, he has very strong faith and he probably believes that God has ordained him to be president, just as the evangelicals believe it was God's plan to put Trump in. So I think he's riding on the coattails of that sort of strength of conviction, however misplaced it might be. Okay, so in his recent past judgment, now again, this is kind of curious. Two things flash into my mind here. It's next door to the Justice card, or sorry, the King of Swords, which represents Justice and Mueller. It could be that he is called in because of that stuff. Because don't forget, with Michael Flynn, he was sacked technically because of not disclosing to the Vice President about something or other. That was always suspicious. So it could be that he's caught up in the judgment, or it could be that the GOP realise he would be a dud and would choose someone else over Pence. He's being judged. All right. On top, the reason I think it might be that second interpretation falling out of favour with the Republicans is the out in the cold card, the Five of Pentacles, struggling through the snow. Right. Now, we know that for many of the really conservative religious Republicans, they were hoping that eventually Pence would be their man. But now they're beginning to change their mind, I think. You know, he hasn't got a lot of support. It's interesting. Short-term outcome. This is an ironic card for Pence, who doesn't appear to speak. This is the card of the speaker. So, as I move through the other cards around this, I'll tell you what I think, because I don't think it's Pence speaking. I'm not sure he has vocal cords, although probably there is footage of him speaking at rallies, and it runs to a 3-word sentence. Lock her up. I mean, he doesn't even have conviction with that. Lock her up. I mean, really, lock her up. You know, so it's not him speaking. It's someone else speaking. How does he see himself? The moon. So he sees himself as being deceived by those around him on some level. I'm beginning to sense quite strongly there's almost an anti-Pence conspiracy going on. He might not be totally paranoid about this. So it could be people planning and plotting against him behind the scenes to put in a more coherent and charismatic speaker, or he could be plotting. I don't know how Machiavellian he is or how deceptive he is. The obstacle to that is the Five of Swords. God, there's a message coming through here. That's the guy who's had a few victories. He's the Vice President of the United States. But the figures are walking away. So we've got walking away, left out in the cold, judgment. He's not, I would say, even at this point, he's actually not the GOP's next leader of choice. Coming out further for him, the Ace of Wands, the ultimate blunt card, the blunt instrument. So Wands is fiery and represents willpower and the shoots of ideas. This relates to this Wands card, willpower and shoots of ideas. So they're looking at a new speaker. Oh dear. And he's hanging by his ballet shoes, not doing anything much because that's what he does best. Nothing at all. So that's the Hangman in suspended animation, meaning that he's just going to wait and see. I don't think the news is going to be brilliant for Pence when he finds out what is in store. So these two cards, the one I'm about to hold up and this one, are interesting. Bear in mind also the Hanged Man is a willing sacrifice, and his next card, short-term outcome, the Martyr card, feeling burdened. Do we see a martyr theme here, Mike Pence? So I think he is going to be martyred. Coming out. He's wondering about it all. He is wondering about the harvest. Has he done enough? And I'm sorry to break the news to him, but he hasn't. He hasn't done enough. someone new and more charming and compelling is coming up. So this is right underneath the judgment card. In that sense, has he made the right decisions too? And the answer is probably not. Oh dear. Further out, he has the sun. Now normally that would be woo, you know, the sun shining on everything you do, but you cannot look at these other cards and take a wholesome reading of the sun when there's so much deception, so much exclusion, so much secrecy and plotting. This has to be read as the sun shining on his behind the scenes behaviour. This is right on top of the judgment card. So for Pence, his idea of just waiting out the Donald seemed like a good strategy at the beginning. He was almost a shoo-in. Most people would have thought Trump would implode at some point and Pence would step into his shoes. But it's interesting, over the last year or so, I've looked at other readings on Pence, and it's the same sort of message. People see him there as president, POTUS 46, either not at all or for a very short time in a caretaker capacity till something else happens. So it's not there for him. It's not there for him. And that, I have to say, is a huge relief. All right, now, intrepid viewers, while I put these cards back and get ready for Lewandowski, let's just chat about what's happened this last week. I think my personal favourite has to be the Russian lawyer. I wrote her name down here, Natalia Veselnitskaya. I'm just a lawyer, I'm an independent person, who then turned around a few days ago and said, and by the way, I'm also a Russian informant, which we all knew, but she actually said it. Yeah. So that has looped back into the whole Mueller investigation stuff and the role of the Russians and that meeting in June. So that's a development, and it's not insignificant. It's an important one. Personally, I think she might have mental health issues. I think there's something very strange about Natalia, and that's more than just being a Russian operative. I really think so. Oh, Corrie. No, I'll put that back. It's too early. Okay, what else has happened? Trump went to Michigan because when he's feeling really cornered and really down, he goes and does a campaign-like thing. And yes, he got howls of joy from the crowd about Nobel Peace Prize winner. I'll do another reading on that. And other things. But what has been less reported, and I think is actually hugely interesting. Take note, viewers, I am going to make a big prediction here. What he also did was he announced to the Michigan gathering that he'd sorted unemployment. Unemployment was no longer an issue in the United States in just 1 year. How amazing is Donald Trump? We thought he was a drongo and a dead shit and a self-serving maniac, but no, political genius. He has cured unemployment. So that might be news for millions of Americans who are making do with patching together contracts with 6 hours here and 2 hours there and 3 hours somewhere else. It was also news to the Michigan audience, who went suspiciously subdued when he made this extraordinary statement. So he said basically unemployment is a thing of the past. He sorted it. So now we, meaning the United States, can bring in guest workers. Now, why is he saying that? The crowd were actually open-mouthed. I'd love to see more footage on that. He was obviously saying that to appease the agricultural community. Those farmers who, for whatever reason, voted for Trump. Why did they think a protectionist wanker like Trump would be good for business? But they did. They voted for it. And then They were disappointed, amazed and panicked because they couldn't get workers to pick the beans. So now he's come out in favour of guest workers. They can come and work for a pittance and then get kicked out. It's a beautifully conceived and very Christian notion. He, of course, benefits from guest workers everywhere. He has lowly paid workers at Mar-a-Lago, but guest workers also do the vineyards for Don Jr. and I'm sure all their other businesses. They do not pay American wages. They do not employ Americans. When will his base wake up to this? Do I have to tell them everything? Anyway, the prediction that I was talking about was, I think this represents the first time he's gone into the rally context where it's, yay, make America great again, and blown it. These are people in Michigan whose lives haven't improved, whose jobs haven't come back. I would think of those who went to that rally, there'd be a bit of a sour taste in the mouth. So he's now actually painted himself into a corner for the first time where he can either make the big claims he always makes, I'm fabulous, I do this, but it's not actually serving his base. They are not receiving the benefits of the wonderful things he's claiming to have done. So I think this is a first step towards major disenchantment. I hope so. Okay, all right, motoring along, a quick one on Lewandowski, who at the same Michigan rally apparently gave the symbol, don't even want to do it, of the OK symbol for the alt-right. And the anti-discrimination, we have the anti-discrimination board in Australia, but you have an anti-discrimination something or other organisation. And they explained the hand signal as it's those on the right who sympathise with the Nazis, but who are not Nazis. I'm sorry, I'm just a simple girl from the Aussie back blocks. When did it become all right for Nazi sympathisers to be in government and out and proud? When did that happen? So Corey Lewandowski, he only deserves a little reading because he's truly, truly, truly awful. Okay. All right. So in the middle, the Wheel of Fortune. His destiny is at play here. Immediate past into the present, conflict. Lots of conflict around him. I'm not surprised because he's an out-and-out arsehole. Okay, so conflict around Corey Lewandowski. Underneath, he has the strength card too, which Pence had. I think with him, with Pence, I think it was more strength of conviction and it's my destiny to do this thing. This is ego strength. Leo, the lion, ego strength. I've got no idea what sign he is. I'm just making that association that he has a strong ego as opposed to internal strength. On top of him is the Knight of Wands. And wands, as always, represent fire, which is why I'm getting more of a fire vibe from the strength card. It's fire, it's out there, but it's quite restrained, the Knight of Wands, the figure pulling back the horse and stuff. He doesn't strike me as being particularly restrained. So what I think is happening is, I think he's trying to rein himself in a bit so he doesn't overstep the mark and lose his position and his position in Trump land. So even though he's out there making provocative Nazi symbols, in his mind, he's being restrained. Right? But it's a powerful horse and a powerful figure. So he's itching to unleash that power, that strength, but something's holding him back. What is that something? It might be the Hierophant. It might be, if he sticks his head up too far, he's going to get caught in the melee. He's going to get caught in all the quagmire around the 2016 campaign. So what I see for Lewandowski, so summing up here, he has a bit of a feeling about destiny too, but it's not in a religious way. But also what he doesn't know is the karmic wheels of justice are turning. He doesn't understand that, and they are. There is conflict around him, and he's a conflicted personality. He's ego-driven. He's doing his best to rein it in, but the Hierophant is galloping towards him at pace. Right. So that's how I see Lewandowski. He will go down with the rest of them. Oh, I hope I'm right. All right, guys. There's your update. Bye for now.